On the night of June 11, 1962, three prisoners, Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin, executed one of the most daring and infamous prison escapes in history. Alcatraz, also known as the Rock, was America's most secure prison, located on a remote island in San Francisco Bay. It was home to some of the country's most dangerous criminals, and no one had ever successfully escaped the facility until that night. Frank Morris was the brain behind the escape plan. Born into a troubled life, Morris had spent most of his years in and out of prisons for crimes ranging from armed robbery to drug offenses. But what made Morris stand out was his exceptional intelligence. With an IQ reportedly over 130, he was known as a problem solver, a skill that came in handy when it came to prison breaks. After failed escape attempts at other institutions, Morris was eventually sent to Alcatraz, a place from which no one was supposed to escape. The escape was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. Morris, alongside John and Clarence Anglin, two brothers who were also experienced prison escapees, began planning their escape nearly a year before they made their move. Alcatraz, with its strict security measures and remote location, was designed to make escape impossible. But Morris saw an opportunity. Using small makeshift tools, mainly spoons and nail clippers, the men spent months chipping away at the concrete around the ventilation grates in their cells. They worked at night, hiding their progress by covering the holes with cardboard and painted cloth. Behind these grates was an unguarded utility corridor that led to the roof. It was here, in the hidden passage, that they prepared for the final part of their plan. But breaking out of the prison was only half the battle. Alcatraz was surrounded by freezing cold, shark-infested waters and powerful currents. No ordinary man could swim across these treacherous waters without the right equipment. So the escapees came up with a brilliant, if risky, solution. They would build a raft and life vests out of raincoats. Over time, they collected more than 50 raincoats from other inmates, carefully sewing them together and sealing the seams with heat from the prison's steam pipes. They fashioned makeshift paddles out of wood, and it was all stashed in the utility corridor, ready for the big night. The Great Escape. On the night of June 11, 1962, the plan was set into motion. Morris and the Anglin brothers crawled through the holes in their cells into the utility corridor, climbed up to the roof, and made their way down to the shore of the island. They inflated their homemade raft and pushed off into the dark, cold waters of San Francisco Bay. Their exact departure time remains unknown, but this would be the last time anyone saw them. The next morning, the guards discovered the escape. In their cells, they found the escapees' beds neatly made, with convincing dummy heads placed on the pillows. These heads were constructed from a mixture of soap, toilet paper, and real human hair. The dummies had fooled the guards during their routine bed checks overnight, giving the prisoners the time they needed to slip away. The search begins. Once the escape was discovered, the largest manhunt in U.S. history was launched. The FBI, local law enforcement, and the Coast Guard scoured the waters and the surrounding areas, searching for any sign of the fugitives. Over the next few days, bits and pieces of the makeshift raft and a paddle were found floating near Angel Island, but there was no sign of the men. Theories and investigations. The official theory held by the FBI was that the men drowned in the bay, unable to survive the cold water and the strong currents. Experts argued that even with a raft, it would have been nearly impossible to navigate the treacherous waters. However, despite exhaustive searches, no bodies were ever found. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged, and the escape remains one of the greatest mysteries in U.S. criminal history. Did they drown, as the FBI suspected, or did they make it to freedom? Some intriguing evidence points to the possibility that they survived. In the years following the escape, there have been reported sightings of the Anglin brothers in various places, including Brazil. In 2013, the FBI received a letter, supposedly from John Anglin, claiming that he and his brother survived and had been living under the radar. The authenticity of the letter is still debated, and the case remains open. The aftermath and legacy. Despite decades of investigation, the fate of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers remains unknown. In 1979, the FBI officially closed its investigation, concluding that the men likely drowned. However, the U.S. Marshals Service still keeps the case open, and they continue to pursue leads to this day. Alcatraz was closed down as a prison in 1963, just a year after the escape. The cells used by Morris and the Anglin brothers, with the holes they carved still visible, are preserved for visitors to see. The escape continues to fascinate people around the world and has inspired numerous books, movies, and documentaries. To this day, The Great Escape from Alcatraz remains one of the most daring and mysterious prison breaks in history, proof that even in the most secure prison in the world, the human spirit, when driven by desperation, can be unstoppable.